So it's a Sunday morning, and I'm going to discuss Mr. McMahon, the Netflix documentary. If you happen to be watching this, I guess it's 12/12. And of course, I'm very coffee and conjagulated. I should have drunk my water before coming on, but I didn't. What a hack. Okay, folks, let's talk about Mr. McMahon. If you happen to be here 12/12 Eastern Standard Time, now it's 12:13. Look how time flies. This is Sunday, whatever the fuck day it is, 2024. Yes, the Mr. McMahon doc's been out for about 2 weeks. Most of you have probably seen it. Is it worth the price of admission? If you don't have Netflix, should you subscribe to Netflix just to get this? I think the thing to do is like I do. If you have a friend that has Netflix, just watch it over there. You know, I don't think it's worth whatever Netflix charges a month now, $14.99. I think that'll be worth it once WWE comes to Monday Night Raw on Netflix next year. I think that's pretty exciting. I think this movement to get away from traditional cable is good for the consumer. So I think, you know, Raw on Netflix will be good for wrestling fans. I'll probably start watching a bit more of Raw because I am a cord cutter. I don't have cable TV, and I don't feel like I'm really missing out on too much. You know, I've seen the best of professional wrestling, the worst of professional wrestling. I saw when Scott Hall came, you know, to the ring, ill-repaired. I was live there in Top Rope Promotions in Fall River about 10 or 12 years ago. When New Jack sliced Eric Kulos's head, I was there in New whatever the fuck, Revere, Massachusetts. I've seen the worst of pro wrestling, and speaking of which, Vince McMahon documentary, what do I think? I think it was a good documentary. I think it was very good, actually. I did know most of the stories that were told. 6 parts, they kind of weave in and out of storylines and behind the scenes, trying to paint a portrait of this gentleman. This Vince McMahon. So overall, I thought it was very good. You know, I think people, I don't know what they're looking for. You know, if people are upset with this documentary, I mean, what are you upset about? They don't have all the evidence. They don't have all the information about the Janelle Grant case. This was not promoted. This documentary was being made before the Janelle Grant case came to be. So you can't really blame Netflix for not deep diving into the Janelle Grant case, because this material was really made much before the case came to light. So I don't really blame I don't blame Netflix. Gentleman from India, nice to see you. Hello from India. A country I've never been to, or a land I've never been to. I'd like to go sometime. So I know that India is a big proponent of professional wrestling, especially WWE. Jay Shira, let's see, a message has been held for review. You are an Asian Indian, god of clutches. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to go with what Mr. Jay Shriram is saying. If that's, I believe that's your name, or maybe where you're from. I'm not sure. Hola, Imelda Rodriguez. Nice to see you here, folks. Talking about the Mr. Man live documentary. My name is Mike Messier. This is One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan YouTube channel. So, the thoughts on the McMahon documentary. I thought the McMahon documentary was very good. I thought they had clips and footage. As a longtime pro wrestling fan that I have not seen, I do not know Hindi. As a matter of fact, if you're asking me, Jay, I don't know Hindi at all. But as far as this documentary, I thought it was very good. Is it award-winning? Is it Oscar-caliber documentary filmmaking? I don't know. I mean, I just think that it's quality entertainment. And I think the big winner in this is Netflix. This is kind of my point that might be different than other people's point. I think that Netflix basically putting all this information out there about Mr. McMahon, his trials and tribulations, his lawsuits against him, his lack of moral fiber in a lot of situations that I've spoken about many times on this channel. I think Netflix does a really good job of cleaning the slate for themselves, basically saying, this is the foundation guy. This is the guy that put WWE on the map in a big time way. It actually was already on the map, folks, as WWF and even WWF for a year or two when his father had it. So I'm just going to say, And I understand your point, Mr. IP2 always watches. He says, I've been watching since 1980, not going to waste my time watching a documentary. And I fully understand your point, and that's why I said I didn't go out and get a subscription to Netflix to watch this documentary. I happen to be staying at the home of a good friend of mine for a few weeks as we're filming this movie. And he wanted to watch it, we watched it. You know what I mean? No big deal. I did think it's a good documentary. A lot of fans like myself and Mr. IP2 who have watched wrestling for a long time, all these stories, the Ring Boys scandal, the steroid scandal, all these scandals, the Bret Hart, the screw job, the Monday Night Wars, all this stuff we're very familiar with. Is there anything new for the old-time fans? I'd say a little bit of clips here and there, some information here and there. The big winner in this documentary series, I believe, is Netflix, because they get to put it all out there. I have not played Super Mario Kart 2 in 1992. No, I do not. I'm not a big video game, guys. I was a big video game fan in the Nintendo 8-bit world, like Pro Wrestling had a nice video game. It was just called Pro Wrestling. I think it was a Japanese game, the Starman and King Slender. That's a fun game. If they have it on Nostalgia somewhere, please play it. Well, you play it if you want to. It was a lot of fun. I was going back to like Miss Pac-Man days. I always liked Miss Pac-Man more than Pac-Man, okay? I don't know why. I just did. I thought it was a better game. It was faster. I liked Centipede. I liked Multipede. Was it Multipede? Centipede, Multipede. I was kind of a Dig Dug fan, okay? But that's really old school. As far as like the most recent video game that I got into, I would say it was NBA 2002 for like the Nintendo 8-bit. I really got into that for a while. Yeah, Pac-Man, your dad, you know, I understand. I mean, I'm probably the age of many of your fathers, and that's fine. But the point is this, folks. Going back to this documentary, I did think it was quite good. There's little kernels of information, like news reports from local stations, you know, throughout the world that I hadn't seen before. Little snippets of stuff. You know, when you're an old school pro wrestling fan, you listen to the podcasts, you're familiar with the online information. Sometimes it's hard to impress us, but I did think that this documentary was well made, good pacing. I didn't mind the weaving in and out of, you know, reality of Vince McMahon as a person and of the character. That didn't bother me. I wonder what people are looking for this doc. I think people might be jumping the gun and thinking we're going to get the whole Janelle Grant expose and find out the real answers. Was Mr. Vince McMahon, was he a sexual